Hi there and welcome to chapter 23. In the last chapter, Simone visited the neighbor and he wasn't too helpful, but just when she was turning around and leaving, she heard a noise and it sounded like dog barking. The story continues. Stefan hasst es, wenn Simone so entschlossen ist. Hassen, everybody knows Rammstein. If not, you look up Du hast mich. Or Du hast es, I don't know. I think the song is even called Du hast, which is playing with the identical sound of Du hast, you have, and Du hast, which means hate. And always keep in mind, the S in German might be a T in English. Yeah? And this T here is here because of the subject. Stefan is the one hating here, and that's why you get the T. So he hates it when Simone so entschlossen, that's an interesting word. You might all have heard of Schloss Neuschwanstein, so New Swan Stone or Steen. So a Schloss is a castle, and you know castles are for kings, so they locked everything. So a Schloss is of course also a lock. And end is the opposite of locking something. It's a de-lock. Yeah. So removing the lock, which means she is so loose, and somehow that means decide. Yeah. The D possibly also has the same meaning as a function as as end, and side sounds. Actually, I didn't look it up. You look it up. Etymology of decide. Yeah, so basically to unlock, she's unlocked, that means she's made the decision to break into the neighbor's house. And Stefan is not so keen on that because, so careful, there is then and dann. So then always means because and dann means then. Yeah, and that's about it. Quite a difference in meaning. So because meist is the same in English, most, and the ends just makes it an adverb. And bedeutet, there is a book in the Bible, right? Deuteronomium or something. Sorry, forgive me, I'm not Bibelfest, but something like this. So I'm not sure whether that is related, but deuten means to point at, and if you point something in a certain direction, you possibly do so to explain something, to give a meaning. So that mostly means, because mostly means that, it means, bedeutet das Überstunden? Ah yeah, see, I'm fooled by this, careful, das here doesn't belong to Überstunden. Yeah, because it would be die Überstunden if we used it, so that was correct. That means, most often that means over Stunden, remember that? Hours. I was stunned for hours. Remember that as a mnemonic. Yeah? And the alternative to that is Uhr, which is literally hour, and you say 3 Uhr means 3 o'clock. Yeah? So this is a classic mistake. Be careful. Over hours meaning additional labor for him. IHNHIM. So, because when Simone is decided or has decided on doing something, that usually means that he has to work over hours. Sweet, huh? Und wenn Simone einen Fall lösen will, dann kennt sie auch kein Gesetz. And when or if Simone a Fall, well, how do I get there? Fall is literally a fall, yeah, somehow. And somehow they turned this into a grammatical term. It's related to cadere. Any Latin learners or teachers here, or possibly it's a Spanish word nowadays still, turns into case, and in German we turned that into casus. But the non-Latin or non-technical term would be Fall. Yeah, casus. Casus is easier, but casus is grammatically, and here it's a case. Yeah, so in this little mess of meanings and similarities, maybe you remember that. And lösen is to lose, and if you loosen a case, you basically solve it. Yeah, and solve is basically lose backwards, as you can see, los, yeah, the VE here, God knows. So will, she wants. Then, we just said that. And can, everybody knows can from Barbie, right? Knows, she also, not a. And Gesetz is ge, like Gebell is an agglomeration, a combination together of something that is set in stone. And that is then a law. Yeah, she also doesn't know the law whenever she has made up her mind. Und ist nun mal ihr Assistent. Nun mal, well, I'm not sure how you would translate that. Let's see. Yeah. So, and, well, yeah, he is her assistant. Nothing he can do, he has to help. And that's exactly what they say here. Also muss mitmachen, ob will oder nicht. Remember, also is a false friend. The L, Bundy, has to go. Must, he, with, make, which means participate. Whether. And I'm not sure ob, yeah. So ob, I looked it up actually for a change. Ob is related to off, and you remember bishop, even though it's a P, but PB is almost the same, turned into an F in German, Bischof. So off, and that turned into if. Yeah, and somehow it turned into whether. So you could use whether, if, but you're better off just always translating it as whether. He wills, wants, or not. Quite a tough boss, that woman, huh? Aber erst isst noch ein letztes Stück Kuchen. You remember Kuchen, no umlaut, no cake. So, but first, I talked about first before, right? So, we have a German word fürst, which is, I think, count. I'll talk about this maybe. Ah, here we are. Yeah, so it's, yeah, maybe it's a count or lord, and it basically means the first one, the first son, which then is the prince, which of course you know from principal, the first. Principal is the one that's the first in the institution, right? So this is how it's all related. Beautiful. But first, ist with double S, has to do with food. He, still, or yet, a, last. And if you take the first T away, you have letzt, last, stick of cake. And of course it's not a stick, but yeah, it's basically, a stick is by definition something that gets hit off a tree, right, of a branch. And so a Stück is a piece, which basically is hit off something, in this case a cake. So it's related to stick in this manner. Beautiful. Es ist bereits nach Mitternacht und es regnet immer noch stark. Well, it is bereit. Well, you have the word reit in here, which is the same as red, and it comes from ready. But the BE here requires us to add something to it, and that's already. Without the S, it would be ready. It's actually not the BE that creates the L, it's the S that creates the already. Yeah? So you have bereit versus bereits, ready versus already. Beautiful stuff. After Mitternacht, we have the, well, here it's not with, it's the middle, Mitte, like you know from Mittwoch with a double T, midweek, middle, night, which is midnight, and Ronald Reagan, when he was president, it was raining cats and mice, I think, right? So rains, and immer noch, immer is usually emphasizing it's just emphasizing still, strongly. Tony Stark, if you are into Iron Man and stuff, is a very strong character, right? So Stark, very Stark. You also have the word in English, but just to give you a few more hooks. Herr Müller schläft schon seit 3 Stunden. So schlafen is the same in English. The P turns into an F in German. Sleeps already. And seit, I actually haven't looked up that. Since 3, same word, I hope you see that, yeah. And she was stunned for hours. That means Stunden means hours. So Mr. Müller is already asleep. Or has been asleep for 3 hours, but we say since 3 hours. Since always means it's still going on. Also seit. Yeah, we would never use für here. So you don't use für until B2. You would see it and understand it, but you will not use it. Simone und Stefan haben sich umgezogen. So they did something to themselves. Yeah, sich, self-I. Umgezogen. We have the zogen here again. Means around. Zog comes from ziehen, which means to pull. So if you pull around, you usually move. But if you have sich umziehen, you pull something else. And that means you pull your clothes off your body and pull other clothes back onto it. And that means to dress. Or to, yeah, sich umziehen means to change what you wear. Change your wardrobe. Actually, I have to, is there a word for this? Sich umziehen. Change clothes. Good. So they're preparing for the break-in. Beide sind von Kopf bis Fuß schwarz angezogen. Beide, Joe and Jill Biden, both of them, are from Kopf. I'm not sure whether I've mentioned this already, but I like it. It comes from cup, because your head is like a cup for your brain, and then you put a lid on it, ideally. So, and that means it's a head. Yeah, the pf here is just pf. So your cup-formed head until foot. Fuß, foot. And you remember that we have Fußball in German. That's a word you need to know, otherwise don't dare to come to Germany. Germans will just ignore you if you don't know what that means. Yeah, it's a football. Not sure how that actually got into soccer. Nobody knows. There's a story to that. I might look this up for the next one. So, schwarz. Somewhere I took notes of that word, but it's not time yet. May the Schwarz be with you. In this case, it simply means there's an actor, I think, Jason Schwartzman or Schwarz something, and it simply means black, the color black. And angezogen, we had this, yeah, zogen, pull on. If you pull something on you, dressed. The GE tells me it's dressed. So both of them are dressed from head to toe, from head to foot, in black. You're almost there, the peak of this chapter. Leise schleichen sie durch den Garten zum Zaun. The only word I have for you to remember leise is Liza Minnelli. So, and she's very silent nowadays. Yeah, silently, of course they want to break in. And schleichen has to do with slick, and hopefully you can see the relation. And it means to sneak. Yeah, you need to be quite slick in order to sneak through the Zaun. So Sie here refers to both of them, yeah, because they're both going there, durch and through. Hopefully you see how they are related. And let's get a bit more space here. The garden, to plus dem, which is to the, and Zaun. Zaun I found fascinating, is related to the Dutch word tuin. Yeah, forgive me Dutchies if this is a difficult sound in Dutch. Tuin. And it means garden. It also means town. Actually, that's the better relation. It's something that kind of grasps a certain area, the garden, and therefore it's a fence. Yeah, so maybe the word town is related to fence as well. I didn't look that up. And there's even a city that contains that word, and that is Verdun. Yeah, so it's a town of Ver. I haven't looked up the history of this, but I like this this relation. So to the tuin, to the fence. Tuin. Beautiful language, Dutch, but this is a really difficult sound. So silently they're sneaking through the garden towards the fence. Dann klettern sie darüber. Well, if you're at the fence, what do? Then, and klettern is related to float, and that's something, and also to glide. Yeah. So imagine this being a G. It's easier to see then, and it nowadays simply means climb. Yeah. So clothes are these little things, when you go through the bushes, they stick to your clothes because they have these little hooks, yeah, plant-like, and somehow it turned more into gliding, and if you glide up a mountain or a fence, you're climbing. Then climb they, that, I told you if it's in combination with a preposition, it's das, but shortened. The R is just connecting the sounds. That over that fence, and gehen vorsichtig, and the Z is missing, zum Kellereingang von Herrn Fischer. So they go, that's easy to understand. Vorsichtig means precisely, and that means, of course, if you always are ahead or take a look ahead, you are carefully. To the cellar, as you can see, Eingang, also easy. Ein is always in or inside. And, you know, inside of the cellar they find a gang, which is the entrance. In this case, it's an entrance. Gang comes from gehen, and maybe gangs used to walk a lot. Yeah. Gehen turns into Gang. We have Eingang and we have Ausgang, which is the opposite, and then we have Übergang, which means you can walk over it. And you have Untergang, interesting German movie about the last days of Adolf Hitler. So it's the going under, the downfall is the name in English. Man sieht kein Licht. Man is the same man as in mankind. And sehen is the same in English. You see here, we just use IE, UEE, not A, and Licht is light. So there's no light. We say one sees not a light. Hope you enjoyed this little lesson, and see you in chapter 24.